Good morning. Hey, while you're sitting down, you can go ahead and sit down. While you're sitting down, though, if you've ever heard me before, you've said this, but I want to hear you say it one more time. Say, the rest of my life will be the best of my life. All right, now I want to hear you say it one more time like you actually believe it. Some of y'all didn't sound like you, but how many believe your life could get better? Yeah, I mean, if you believe the Bible, Jesus said, I've come that you might have life, have it more abundantly. I think God has greater things in store for us. Maybe you've heard him say, the best is yet to come. So one more time, like you believe it, say, the rest of my life. Oh, that sounded better. Will be the best of my life. I like to get people to say that as much as I can. You know, what you continually hear, you'll eventually believe. So if you hear your whole life, you'll never make anything of yourself, you might start to believe that. But if you keep hearing the rest of your life will be the best of your life, pretty soon you'll start believing that. Life gets better when you put God first. How many found that to be true? Yeah, life just goes better. And one of the ways you do that is by getting planted in God's house. And I encourage you, if you've not got planted here at ResLife, I encourage you, get planted, plant your family here, get involved. One of the ways you do that is to show up. That's one of the easiest ways to get planted. Good job. You already got started today. And you know, the Bible says when you plant yourself in God's house that your life would flourish. How many want your life to flourish? Your business to flourish, your relationships to flourish? Well, one of the ways you do that is to plant yourself. So just when you leave today on your way out to the car, you could just declare over your life, Father, I thank you this week, my life's going to flourish. My business is going to flourish. My relationships are flourishing because I made a decision today to get planted in God's house. So I encourage you, show up when you can. Be generous. That's another way to be planted in God's house. Be faithful in your giving. Find a place to serve. There's all kind of places to serve around here. Pray for your pastors. There's a lot of ways to get planted. But I promise you, when you get planted, if you believe the Bible says your life would flourish. And so I can't think of any better place than right here at ResLife. And to be in Michigan, as Pastor mentioned, we just moved to Michigan. Well, we're on our way to Michigan, and I thought there's no better time to move from Florida than right now. You know, there's a lot of transfer. People are coming from here going to Florida. I said this would be a great time to go north, right? Enjoy this beautiful weather. So if you know anybody in the Troy area, Detroit area, it's a great church. Tell them to come over and be a part and hang out with us. I believe God's going to do some great things. Good to have my son with me today, Solomon. And Solomon's 13 years old. I think I shared with you before. He's kind of our miracle. And we prayed a long time. Anybody ever prayed longer than a week for God to do something? Anybody ever asked God longer than a week before he answered you? Anybody prayed longer than a year for God to do something? Yeah. 8 years we prayed for that little guy, and finally there he was. My wife got pregnant. We were so excited. Had some complications, and the baby was actually in her fallopian tube. They're going to have to remove the baby, and they scheduled the surgery to go in and remove the baby. But you know, we just continue to stand in faith. We've been praying a long time, and God promised us we'd be fruitful and multiply. And I tell you, it wasn't easy. Sometimes it's not easy to pray and believe when you get a negative report. And sometimes it's real easy to just accept the negative report, you know, that the doctor may give. And there's an old song we used to sing growing up, whose report will you believe? And then we said, we shall believe the report of the Lord. You know, the doctor's report said you're not going to have this baby. The Lord said you should be fruitful and multiply. And we just kept believing. Like I said, it wasn't easy all the way to the hospital when they went in for the surgery, did the last ultrasound, and as they did, they said, someone's made a mistake. Your baby's actually in your womb exactly where he's supposed to be. And, you know, they called it a mistake, and we just called it a miracle. And there he is over there on the second row with me, and he's our miracle, and he came out perfect, you know. Well, he's not perfect, but came out perfect. Well, he didn't even come out perfect. He was born C-section, but I mean that's you can't even tell when you look at him. He just looks totally fine. So I told someone the other day, the only way you can tell he was born C-section is whenever he leaves the house, he goes through a window. But other than that, he's a totally normal kid. So anyway, good to have him. And it's always good to be with our ResLife family. Love what God's doing. How many love your church? How many are thankful for your church? It's got to be easy to have a heart for this house when you have pastors like you have. How many are grateful for your pastors? And they are just amazing. And just what an honor to call them friends, and just great to be with you guys today. Let me share something with you that I think will help you today. I was recently doing a study. I love when I go to different places. I love to visit cathedrals. I like to go visit old churches. How many like to do that? Anybody else like that? Okay, there's a few people like me. I like to go do it and just see them and see how they were built. And I started thinking about this, because when we're talking about building having a heart for the kingdom and building God's kingdom, how many know God's kingdom will last long beyond us? We'll be long gone. People before us were building God's kingdom, and that's why we are here today. They had a heart for the kingdom. And I believe just next week, as we start this Heart for the Kingdom offering, and we're able to give over and above our normal giving into see what God can do and through us and through the kingdom. When you favor what God favors, and I believe God favors his house, I believe God favors his kingdom. When you favor what God favors, I believe God will favor you. I mean, that's what the Bible says, and most of us, we believe the Bible. And so I believe as we're generous to God's house, God shines his face upon our house. And as we're generous to the things of God, God looks at us and says, man, because you've been generous to my kingdom, I want to be generous to your life. I'm gonna shine my face upon your life. And so as I was just thinking about this whole concept of having a heart for the kingdom and building the kingdom, I started thinking about this cathedral. I'm calling the concept, what I've been studying, I call it a cathedral mindset. It's a cathedral way of thinking, a cathedral mindset. It brought a lot of thoughts to my mind. And here's what I call a cathedral mindset. It's creating and living toward long-term goals that require decades of foresight and planning so that future generations can enjoy the full realization. You see, what we're doing right now, what we're building right now, will be beyond, unless Jesus comes, will go beyond us. How many know when we're gone and our children are here and our grandchildren are here and our great-grandchildren, ResLife will still be here ministering to people for generations and generations to come. It's beyond us. What we're doing when we think of Heart for the Kingdom, what we're doing is beyond what we may ever see. Cathedrals are not built quickly. They're not built real fast. I mean, how many have anybody ever been to Notre Dame Cathedral over in Paris? Anybody? Okay, a lot of hands on that one. Yeah, just had some devastation to it recently with the fire. But I was studying that. It took over 100 years to build Notre Dame Cathedral. Over 100 years to build that cathedral. I was in Germany, and I got to go to the Cologne Cathedral. The Cologne Cathedral, an amazing, beautiful cathedral, took over 600 years to build that cathedral. Has anybody ever been to Barcelona and see La Sagrada Familia? Anybody ever been there? Okay, I see a few hands. What an amazing cathedral that is. They're still in the process of building it right now. They started in 1882, I believe it was, with a 200-year plan of completion. Now, we get upset if things take longer than 2 years. And I'm already noticing around Michigan that the roads take a lot longer than that to fix. But a 200-year plan of completion. Could you imagine when Antonio Gaudi designed the cathedral, he knew he would never see the completion of the vision. But he wasn't building it for him. He was building it for generations to come. Even with the modern construction methods that we have today, they still estimate the completion date will be 2026. Which is still quite a few years, 144 years it will take to fully build the cathedral. But I love what Gaudi said when they asked him about it. He said, you know what? My boss is in no hurry. See, what we're building here, what we're building through Heart for the Kingdom is something that will impact generations and generations to come. We may never see the completion of it, but it's not about us. It's about reaching the next generation. It's about creating a legacy that goes beyond us, far beyond us. Cathedrals just take a long time to build. And building God's kingdom takes time. The length of time and the resulting magnificence of the structure, some of those beautiful cathedrals that we see, are the cornerstones which this concept of a cathedral mindset's really built. Plans and dreams, what we're doing must outlast our lifetime. See, we can't make it about us. What I'm building today, I'm thinking about my son. I'm thinking about his children. My grandfather just passed away a couple months ago. He was 96 years old, and I love how he created a legacy. I remember he gave his heart to Jesus at 16 years old. First one in his family to ever do that. God called him into the ministry. He served and preached all over the world for years and years. My dad also went into the ministry and now has served and pastored. He's 70, just turned 75, just got back from Peru and Jamaica, still traveling around the world preaching the gospel. Now here I am sharing the good news of Jesus, and then my son says, I'm called to the ministry, Dad. One day I'm gonna preach too. And I think generations and legacies were created by a decision that my grandfather made when he was 16 years old to realize, it's not just about me, but what am I gonna do to create a legacy? See, what we're doing, there's one of my favorite movies, The Gladiator. There's a great quote in that movie that says, what you do in life will echo through eternity. See, next week, as we have our opportunity to be a part of Heart for the Kingdom, we have the opportunity to do something in our lifetime that will echo through eternity. I think the church is just a great example of understanding this cathedral mindset. And there's 3 specific principles I want you to get on this. 3 things I want you to get and understand on this. Number 1, a cathedral mindset requires a long-term vision. A cathedral mindset requires a long-term vision. Now, generosity in itself, we understand that what we're doing is beyond us. It's not about us. Yeah, we may receive some benefit of it. I might have shared this before. In this building are water pipes. All throughout this building are water pipes. What's the purpose of those water pipes? The purpose of those water pipes is to distribute water, right? That's what they do. They take water from one part of the building to another part of the building. The purpose of the water pipes is not to get wet. That's not why we put the pipes in here. We put the pipes in here to distribute water. Now, how many know the pipes will get wet? Yeah, it's not the purpose of the pipe, but it's part of the process. And it's the same thing with God's blessings on our life. The purpose of God's blessings are not so we can get blessed. They're not so we can get a cottage up at the lake, or they're not so we can get a boat. They're so that we can be a blessing, so that we can distribute God's blessing. Now, in the process of being a blessing, how many know you will get blessed? That's not the reason for it. It's just part of the process. You kind of can't help it. It's like the water pipes. They can't help getting wet. It's just part of the process. Their job is to distribute water. My prayer, Lord, make me a distribution center of your blessings. Bless me so that I can bless others. Say this with me. Say, I'm blessed to be a blessing. How many like to give in here? Let me see if you like to give. Yep, most of us do. Like I said, we can't help it. It's just the way God made us, right? For God so loved the world that He gave. He is a giver. So generosity is just kind of part of who we are. And He gave. And what did He give? He gave His son, right? His son, not just any son. It was His what? Only. Think about that. It was His very best, right? What He did was He gave His best. He didn't have 3 sons. And He's like, man, take the second one. That one, oh, we've had it. That one's been bad all the time. No, He gave His very best. He gave His only son just for us. And I think about that when I have opportunities to give. Is this my best? Am I giving my best to the one who gave me everything? So my prayer, Lord, make me a distribution center. Bless me to be a blessing. That's what Deuteronomy 8, verse 18 says, that the Lord would give you the power to create wealth. The Lord would give you the power to create wealth. He didn't say He's going to give you money. He says He's going to give you the power to create it. How is that? Maybe it's an idea. Maybe it's an invention. Maybe it's a promotion. He's going to give you the ability to create more. Why? So that you could establish His covenant. That's what He said He was going to do. Now, a lot of people think the covenant is Deuteronomy 28, where He says, I'll bless you coming in and bless you going out, and blessing the city and blessing the field, and everything you do will be blessed. And I love that part. That's not the covenant, but I like that part. How many like that part? Yeah, of course we'd like to be blessed. But no, the covenant He made, that's just part of the benefit, again, of the covenant. That's part of the pipe getting wet. The purpose is back in Genesis 12, where He says, I will bless you so that you can be a blessing. If you read that whole thing, that's where that part is there. When you favor what God favors you. And that's all part of that whole thing. He said, I will bless you so that you can be a blessing. That's the covenant He made. So what He's really saying in Deuteronomy 8 is that I'm going to give you the power to create wealth so that you can be a blessing. When God blesses you, He's got a lot more than you in mind. When God blesses you, He's got a lot more than you in mind. Just say this with me. Say, I'm blessed to be a blessing. So when you think about this, a cathedral mindset requires a long-term vision. What we're doing is far beyond us. 350 years ago, a shipload of travelers landed on the northeast coast of America. We celebrate Thanksgiving partly because of this. And the first year they established, when they got here on the northeast coast of America, they established a town site. The second year they were here, they elected a town government. The third year they were here, the town government planned to build a road 5 miles westward out into the wilderness. The fourth year, the town tried to impeach the government because they're like, why do we need a road 5 miles out there into the wilderness? We don't even know what's out there, and we don't even need to know what's out there. Who really cares? So the same people, when you think about it, the same people who had a vision to travel 3,000 miles across an ocean, overcome incredible hardships just to get here, in just a few years didn't have the vision to see 5 miles out of town. They had lost their pioneering vision. And see, what happens with us a lot of times in church, we get a nice, big, beautiful building. We have everything we need right here, and we forget that beyond us, there's so many more people that need our help. Beyond us, there's so many more lives that need to be changed. Beyond us, the scripture says, where there is no vision, people perish. Well, because of a great vision God gave our pastors, many have not perished. We could go through this room and hear hundreds of testimonies of people who gave their heart to Jesus right here at ResLife, whose marriages were healed and restored right here at ResLife, who received physical healing right here. Because of a vision, many people did not perish. But you can also flip that around to say, where there are no people, the vision will perish. That means you and me, the people that say we believe in the vision, we believe in it, we can see beyond ourselves. We can see beyond what we've just built right here. And let's go, let's keep that pioneering vision to go out and do more and touch more lives and change more lives. We see all the things that we're doing here in our city and around the world through our generosity. Why can't we look beyond where we're at to see there's so much more that God has for us? Vision is critical to your success. Vision, getting a picture of where it is that we're going, what it is we're trying to accomplish. Everything begins with a vision, and you never can underestimate the power of a vision, because a vision will keep you focused. Now, this will be good if you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, or these same kind of principles will help you in your life as well. A vision keeps you focused. You got to know where you're going. Maybe with your family. Maybe as you finish this year and we go into 2020. I know a lot of people are talking about 2020 vision. That's going to be a big one. 2020 vision. What's the vision for your life? What's the vision for your family? What's the vision for your future? What's the vision for our church? A vision keeps you focused. A vision gives you fuel. A vision helps you to finish. You got to keep your eyes looking ahead at the vision. Even though these people had crossed an ocean, there was still a wilderness to conquer. Even though we've accomplished amazing things here at ResLife, how many know there's so much more that we have to do? So many more people that need Jesus. How many know at least one person here in this city that doesn't know Jesus? Well, right there's thousands more that we still need to touch. There's thousands more that still need what we have, the hope of the world, Jesus, and we do it through our heart for the kingdom. The second principle, a cathedral mindset will do, it will compel you to pass on the dream. It will compel you to pass on the dream. How can I let this generosity flow through me to others? I think I told you, I may have told you about this one of the times I've been here before, but I look for ways to be generous. Anybody like that? You're always looking for ways to be generous, looking for ways to help others. That may mean you have the gift of giving. It's a gift, and Romans talks about people that have the gift of giving. They like the gift of faith or the gift of miracles, or some people that God just blesses them so they can be a blessing. And I kind of feel like I'm always looking for ways to be a blessing. Solomon and I were at Taco Bell one day, and just wanted some real authentic Mexican food, and so we went over there and get that chalupa, and so while we were sitting there, the lady next to us was planning a birthday party. And I overheard the conversation as they were planning the birthday party. And the son said, Mom, I got a list of 12 friends for the birthday party. And the mom said, well, I'm sorry, son, you can only bring 10 friends to the birthday party. And she said, but Mom, I got 12 friends. The mom said, well, you can't bring 12 friends. You can only bring 10 friends. And he's getting upset because he doesn't understand. She said, look, she goes, son, I can only afford this many pizzas. So there's this many pizzas, there's this many slices per pizza, that's this many per friend, so that only gives you 10 friends. And I mean, he's a kid, he's like 9 years old. He doesn't understand the whole pizza equation, right? He just wants all of his friends to come to the party. And so the mom starts to get upset because as a mom, she wants him to be able to bring all of his friends to the party. She just can't afford it. It's really a money issue, nothing else. It wasn't that she didn't like his friends. He just didn't have enough money. And so he's getting upset and she's getting upset and they're mad at each other. And I'm sitting there right next to him thinking, I should help. I should do something. I mean, here's some people with a need and I'm sitting right next to them. And what would a good Christian do if they heard about someone with a need like this? And I did exactly what you're thinking. I'm like, I'm going to pray for them. Isn't that what a good Christian would do? We'll be praying for you. Hope that all works out. Pastor's sharing this great vision we have to touch the kingdom. And we're like, oh, Pastor, we'll be praying for y'all. No, God blesses you to be say it one more time. Say, I'm blessed to be a blessing. I'm sitting right next to him, and I thought, yeah, I could pray for them. Yeah. Lord, I pray, Lord, that you would multiply those pizza like you did the loaves and the fishes, and you would just, Lord, I pray you'd give them wisdom to cut smaller slices. Smaller slices would be more friends. There's a lot of prayers we could pray. I pray one of his friends would move. Let one be a vegan. Anyway, I remembered I had $100 in my pocket. When God blesses you, he's got a lot more than you in mind. He blesses you to be a blessing. Every one of us next week could do something. At some level of our faith, we all won't be able to give the same amount. I remember when $100 was everything I had. But I also remember when $100,000 was everything that I had. So it won't be that we all do the same, but what if we all did our best? As God's blessed us, we were a blessing. And I remember working my way up $100 and $500 and $1,000. I just kept working my way up. And God, as God blessed me, I was a blessing. And I was a blessing. As I was a blessing, God blessed me. Last year when I was here, I talked about the cycle of blessing. How God blesses us, and out of our gratitude, we're generous. And out of our generosity, God blesses us, which gives us a grateful heart, which causes us to want to be generous. And out of our generosity, God blesses, and we create this cycle of blessing in our life. And I just remembered I had $100 in my pocket. When God blesses you, he's got more than you in mind. I walked over to the table and said, excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt you guys. I wasn't eavesdropping on your conversation. I was just listening to it. I said, sorry to interrupt you guys. Here's $100. Invite those other two friends, and you guys just have a blessed day. God bless you. And I just turned around and left because it wasn't about me. It wasn't like, here's $100, and here's one of my cards. Got a podcast. You should download it and follow me on Instagram. It wasn't... You should totally follow me on Instagram, by the way, if you don't. But it wasn't about me. I left, and I'm sure she was telling her friends, you're not going to believe this. We were sitting there at Taco Bell, and this big, bald angel came. He had $100. And I'm blessed to be a blessing. So when you think about that, why would you not want to give to the one who gave you everything? I mean, think about that. When we're giving back, we're giving to the one. Reminds me of this guy. His anniversary was coming up, and he went into the perfume store. Beautiful perfume store. He said, listen, it's my anniversary, and I want to get something special for my wife. She is the most amazing person I've ever met. She's changed my life. Her heart, her love. I wouldn't be this person I am today if it wasn't for her. She's the most incredible, wonderful, amazing woman. She's raised our children. You know what? Give me the very best thing you've got in here. I want to give her the best because she's given me the best of her. What's the best thing you've got? The lady's like, oh, you want our best perfume? Hold on just a minute. She goes in the back and she comes out with this beautiful, ornate, beautiful perfume bottle. She goes, this is the best. She goes, this is the best we got. You'll love the smell that she get a little squirt. Oh, man. He goes, that does smell. And that bottle's beautiful, man. That's your best? Because she deserves the best. That's my best. He said, okay, how much is it? And she said, this bottle here is $599 for this bottle. He thought for me, he's like, that's a lot. He said, do you have anything cheaper? And the lady said, hold on just 1 second, and went in the back and came back with a mirror. Isn't it funny sometimes, like, God, you're the best. I want to give you my best. You give me your life. You give me joy and peace. You give me everything. And we have an opportunity to give our best. We're like, God, give me anything cheaper. Maybe not that much, God. Maybe, how many's God ever spoke to you to give more than you're wanting to give? Be honest. Yeah, there's been a lot of times I've done that. God, you got anything else? Honey, I asked my wife, you got anything? You got a different number? You know, trying to find something different. But God, when he speaks to our heart, when God speaks to you, he already knows what's on the other side. He already knows what's on the other side. So as our generosity flows, it's amazing. And when you see the dream of what God's put in our heart to do through Heart for the Kingdom, we have an opportunity to pass on the dream, to communicate the dream with others. That's why these videos, what's the purpose of those? To communicate the vision. That's how you pass it on. There's a big difference between information and communication. And this is a whole business principle, but a lot of times in business and that we use these interchangeably, communication and information. Information is giving out, communication is getting through. Information, we can give out some information, here's what we're going to do, but communication is when we get through and you see what can happen because of your faithfulness to the vision, to help communicate the vision. And it's important when you do that you're clear and concise. I always thought when communicating a vision, be clear, be concise. When I communicate a vision to my son, I'm like, okay, here's the vision. You are going to have a clean room. I have a vision of that. So let me be clear. All this stuff needs to go away. That's part of it. And be concise. You know, I want to make sure I'm not just giving them some information, clean this up. I want to get through to them. I want to communicate how important this is because your PlayStation won't work if you don't. How many have a problem keeping your kids off? I'm trying to keep him off that stinking video game stuff, you know, and I'm like, son, you need to, when I was a kid, we played outside, right? We went outside, we played, we got exercise. We didn't sit in here and play video games all day. You don't play video games all day. Go outside, get off that computer, get outside, play some games. Make something of your life. You're never going to make anything of your life just playing video games all day. He went out, finally put it down, went outside. I was on the news. I was watching the news, and all of a sudden they showed me this kid on the news named Ninja. He's a video game player, and all he does is play video games. Makes $500,000 a month playing video games. I opened that door. I'm like, son, get back in here and play these video games. I got to retire someday. I need your help, you know. Had no idea. How did I get off on that? I don't even know what I was talking about now. Anyway, it was going to be good, whatever I was going to say about that. Do you remember what I was saying? Communicating. Yeah, that's it. Be clear and know what you're saying. I don't know. I'm trying here. I'm trying to be clear. Or, you know, when you communicate something, you want to be clear. You want to make sure that people understand because people can take things the wrong way. Two guys were out hunting. One guy collapsed. And he's like, man, my friend just collapsed. He grabbed his phone, called 911. He said, I'm out here hunting. My friend, he just died. He just collapsed and died. The lady's like, hold on, 911 operator said, hold on. Take a deep breath. First of all, let's make sure he's dead. And it was quiet for a minute. There was a gunshot. He came back on. He goes, oh, okay, I'm sure. See what I mean by be clear with your communication. You know, you can't just throw something out there. You got to make sure people understand. So give a dream that can be passed on for generations and generations come. And when you communicate it with optimism, communicate it with hope and joy. I think the church, we're the hope of the world. Jesus is the hope of the world. Why? People said, this isn't one of those feel-good churches, is it? And I'm like, I hope so. Who wants to go to the feel-bad church, right? Yeah, yes, we got to understand. We need to learn and know what's right and wrong, those kind of things. But hey, how many when you leave church, you want to feel good when you leave? How many want to be, I'm so glad I went to the house of God today. Of course, because life goes better when you put God first. Be optimistic about it. I got to work at being optimistic. I do. I work at it all the time because I wasn't born an optimist. I was born a pessimist. My blood type is even B negative, So this isn't easy. I heard about this monastery was on top of a cliff, and the only way to get up to this monastery was they put you in a basket and they pulled you up by a rope to the top of the cliff. They were pulling a guy up. He was going to visit the monastery, and he noticed that the rope was a little frayed on his way up, and he finally made it to the top, and he asked the monks up there, he said, hey, listen, he said, how often do you replace this rope? And they said, every time it breaks. Just be a little more optimistic, right? Just try to communicate a little better than that. So number three, the last thing. When a vision's burning in you, there's a passion and a dedication. When we see what we can do for God's kingdom through this house, it's amazing. And we get to see it, and we get to be a part of it. That builds a passion in you to do something beyond what you may even naturally be able to do. I think about the Macedonian church in Corinthians chapter 8, when Paul's describing the Macedonian, they're giving. And I love that scripture because I think as the way he describes them is how we should be described as the church of Granvillians. Right? Something. Anyway, villains. Anyway, that doesn't sound good. Anyway, so here's what he said. He goes, man, they gave beyond what we could even. He was in shock at how much they'd give. I can't even believe they gave much. They gave beyond what we could even imagine. Wouldn't that be awesome? Pastor goes, wow, you guys, I couldn't believe how generous you were. It was beyond what we could even dream or imagine you'd be able to do. That's what I think God wants to see happen through us. So lastly, the third principle of a cathedral mindset is that it will change your outlook. It'll change your outlook. When you have this kind of vision, and it's clearly communicated to others so that our vision will survive into the future. You grasp the significance of living your life for a reality that you may never see. About 50% of what I do is in the corporate arena. And I was just doing a conference in Texas for, it's a really unique group of people. They're all third generation petroleum and gas, oil, petroleum businesses that are now owned and run by third generation family members. And because if you understand in business, most businesses, by the time they get to the third generation, that person's maybe not an entrepreneur, didn't have the same drive that a grandfather had or the dad picked up. And they're like, well, we'll just sell it. We'll sell the company. And a lot of businesses get sold around that third generation. And so this organization's trying to keep these third generation owners understanding that, hey, what their grandfather built is now impacting generations and generations. You can keep this going to outlast your lifetime as well. And I think it's the same thing in the church. I think about it. My grandfather was a pastor. My dad was a pastor. Now here I am, third generation. And what am I doing to make sure that my son, that it's passed on to the next generation? And yeah, he could have go do anything that he wants to. I'm not saying you've got to be a pastor, but you do. But you could do anything if you wanted to, but you don't. And so, the Jewish people, that's what they when their kids are growing up, they go, their kids are like 8 years old. This is my doctor's son, Levi. This is my lawyer's son. They just start speaking over them what they're going to be. But I want to make sure that I'm passing on, if nothing else, to live a life serving God and understanding that we can impact many people beyond ourselves and generations to come and help build the kingdom of God. I want to pass on that legacy to others, to other people, and get a picture of what is able to be accomplished. When Walt Disney built Disney World, it opened in 1971. He died before it ever opened. died before it ever opened. They asked his wife, they said, isn't it sad that Walt never got to see Disney World? She goes, oh, Walt saw this. Walt saw it before any of us, and that's why it's here today. He was building something that would outlast his lifetime. Next week, we have an opportunity to be a part of something that will outlast our lifetime. A cathedral mindset is bigger than us. Building God's kingdom is bigger than us. It's a commitment. Number two, it's a commitment that will last a lifetime. As long as you're alive, we'll still be building God's kingdom. And until we go to be in heaven, we'll still be building God's kingdom. And then the generations after us will be building. Until Jesus comes and takes us all home, we will be building the kingdom. It's a commitment of a lifetime to build God's kingdom. And then lastly, it will make your contribution significant, and it will create a legacy. How many want to create a legacy for your life and for your family? Long beyond you, a legacy that will impact generations and generations to come. This vision is way bigger than us. It's larger than a lifetime. And that's why we're here at ResLife, to develop this mindset, to see how can we impact generations, whether it's doing some new things in the youth facility or the children's ministry. I mean, I think the children's ministry should be the nicest, best. I mean, when my son was growing up, he loved Chuck E. Cheese. But I would much rather him be excited about going to church than going to Chuck E. Cheese. And so if we just throw him in a room, like I grew up in a little small church in Mississippi, they just threw us 30 of us in a little room, white walls, nothing on the wall. Here's some graham crackers and Kool-Aid. We'll see you in 3 hours. Because how many grew up in church that service went 3 hours long? And, so make it a place that they love to go, where they can also learn about Jesus and know that God has great things in store for them. Everything we do, whether it's fixing a parking lot or whether it's building a church in the Philippines, we are building God's kingdom. And we get to be a part of it. What an incredible privilege and honor we have to create a legacy, to do something beyond ourselves. Success is one thing, but significance is something incredibly different. We have an opportunity to do something significant, to create a significance in our life and impact generations to come. How many want to be a part of that? How many want to be a part of lives? See, what we do every day, how many remember the day? Let me close with this. How many remember the day you gave your heart to Jesus? Let me see if you remember that day. Look at that. Many people remember that day. It was that one day when everything changed. But you know, before that one day happened for you, somebody else's every day of building the kingdom, everyday generosity, everyday serving and helping, somebody's every day affected your one day. And what if all that had happened and only you were the only one that gave their heart to Jesus? Would it have been worth it? Of course it would have. Our everyday generosity, our everyday faithfulness, our everyday serving here at ResLife affects somebody's one day. That one day when they say, you know what, I'm saying yes to Jesus today. So all that we give and all that we do, if only one person gave their heart to Jesus, would it be worth it? Yeah, my goodness, God gave his only son. God thought you were so worth it that he gave his only son just for you. That's pretty incredible. I'm so glad that someone every day affected my grandfather's one day. My goodness, he gave his heart to Jesus. His life was changed. Went into the ministry. My dad raised him in the house of God. Served ministry, raised me in the house of God. Raising my son. A legacy was created because of somebody's one day. But someone before him's every day affected that. Next week, we have an opportunity to be a part of our everyday generosity affecting somebody's one day. If just one person gave their heart to Jesus, what is it worth? It'd be worth everything. It would be worth every one of us doing our very best. Today is somebody's one day. Today is the day somebody will say yes to Jesus. It'll be the greatest decision that they ever make. Churches all across the world, people are saying yes. Churches that we build in other countries, people are saying yes to Jesus today. Right here, somebody's going to say yes today. And if just one life was changed, would everything we've done today be worth it? All the practice and the musicians and the children, everything we did today, it'd be worth it if just one person said yes today.